Let me introduce our next speaker. Sherrie Simmonds retired last year after 27 years with the Alaska Housing Finance Corporation. She served as the Corporate Communications Officer for 16 years, managing all aspects of internal and external communications. She's been a member of Toastmasters since 1989, where she's reached the level of Distinguished Toastmaster, and she attributes much of her career success to this international organization. Sherrie has held many club and area offices and has won numerous speech and evaluation contests. Sherrie's many volunteer efforts include both speaking and training. Now today she'll provide ideas to not just save money, but maybe to even save your life through driving programs sponsored by AARP. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sherrie Simmonds.
Raise your hand if you would like to save some money and maybe save your life or that of one of your loved ones. Great. It's a perfect audience. I'm going to share some programs today that AARP sponsors. There are 3 programs that they offer that help drivers. Now, I wouldn't be having the same conversation if I were in New York or San Francisco, if that's where we were sitting today, because they're not addicted to their cars like we are here. But AARP has made these programs possible so that you can drive more safely and drive longer throughout your life. There are 3 programs: the Driver's Safety Program, Car Fit, and We Need to Talk. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Driver's Safety Program. Now that one has been around for years. It's offered all over the United States. It's an 8-hour class, at least that's the ones that we teach here in Alaska. There are 6-hour and 4-hour, but they're not approved, so I'm going to tell you about that a little bit more. There's also some online classes that aren't approved by our legislature. But the 8-hour classes are usually taught in a 2 4-hour class. They might be at the Senior Center here in Anchorage, or an 8-hour class at the AARP offices, or even out in Chugiak, where the Senior Center hosts some of those for us. Now, what you would learn is all kinds of information about how to drive more safely. And you might actually be able to get rid of a ticket that you just got if the judge says, if you take this class, I'll let you get off the hook and eliminate that ticket. Or if you've gotten a recent ticket and you've got some points on your record, you get a 2-point reduction for taking the class. Also, the legislature, Alaska's legislature, passed a law which requires all insurance companies to give a discount for people who have taken the class on their insurance rates. That's where you're going to save money. So if you take the class, you automatically get a discount. We also are having some specials in October. It's a great month if you are a veteran or even a family member of a veteran, because we're offering the classes for free in October. So if it's your grandfather, your father, a spouse, or a child, or have been a veteran, then you'll get that class for free. Some of the topics that we are going to talk about in that class have to do with, first of all, yourself. Your vision as you get older obviously is not what it used to be. Your hearing might not be what it used to be. And your fitness and flexibility. And we have some exercises that help people keep that fitness and keep that flexibility, and I'm going to walk you through those in just a little bit. Safe driving strategies. Did you know that intersections are the worst places? That's where most crashes occur. So you can't maybe avoid every intersection, so we want to learn ways that you can go through them and have them be a little bit more safe. Right-of-ways. Did you know that you should never take the right-of-way? You should always give it. We learn the ways of who really has the right-of-way, but that doesn't mean you necessarily should take it if you think it belongs to you. Backing up strategies. When you're sitting in a parking lot and you're wanting to back up, you need more of that flexibility. You need to be able to turn your neck and see who's coming from different directions. You learn all of those strategies. My sister was basically outed by her 5-year-old when he was that age. You know how most of the children ride around with their parents, mainly their mother. So they were going to go over what the different colors of the stoplight meant. And his father was asking him, well, no problem with red, that means stop. No problem with green, that means go. So when he asked him what yellow meant, he said, go fast. Now, another thing that we learn is working with our driving partners. Now, that can be bicycles, that can be pedestrians, aggressive drivers with road rage, and it can mean truckers. We don't have as many trucks up here as if you go outside and you start driving on some of those freeways, you see how lucky we are not to have so many trucks. But we still have big buses, we still have some trucks, and we have those big motorhomes. And all of the rules apply. Now, I'm going to tell you a story. This one I'm going to read because this is one of the videos that we have as part of the class. There's videos that go with each section, and they're very professionally done, so it keeps your energy going and it keeps your interest, and it doesn't get too boring, even though you think 8 hours, that's a long time. So this is one of them. It's a trucker who is narrating this part of it. A tractor pulling a trailer is over 75 feet long. This unit is 8.5 feet wide, 13 feet, 6 inches tall. Fully loaded, it can be 80,000 pounds. Now, this is how this relates to you and your family. You get hit by this 80,000-pound semi. It's equivalent of a man my size, 260 pounds, stomping on a partially filled can of pop. And at that point, you see the after effects of a crash. It's very emotional. Other things that we learn are our roads and highways, the differences between rural and urban driving. Although in Alaska, there's not quite as many differences as there are in some parts of the country. You also learn how to work around emergency vehicles and what do the different road signs mean. And, of course, all of our favorites, roundabouts. Now, if you don't like roundabouts and you want to learn a little bit more about them, there's a website. You can go to alaskaroundabouts.com and find out more of how to, and actually I'm thinking it might even be Anchorage roundabouts, so try both of those. I'm not sure now which one it is. When they first started putting in roundabouts where I had to go through them every day on my way to work, the first time I pulled in front of somebody that thought I should have been turning the way I turned and beeped at me, I thought, okay, I need to check this out a little bit more. So I went at a time when there was hardly any traffic, and I drove round and around and around and around those roundabouts just to get a practice and to be able to go slowly enough that I could see where those lines were, which ones were supposed to go forward, which ones you could turn on, and what the signs said. So just keep that in mind. If you try to avoid the roundabouts, maybe you just need a little more practice. We also learn more about our vehicles. If they break down, where do you stand? What do you do? We've seen many times when there are accidents that happen to do with the person whose car has just broken down and they've been hit. So you want to get out of the way as far as you can if your vehicle breaks down. Also, anti-lock brakes. Most of us have those now on our cars, but if you do, you want to keep in mind the 3 things: stomp, stay, steer. The stomp means to put on the brake and hold it there. You don't want to pump it. And the stay also means stay on it, don't pump it. And steer the direction you want to go. I always wonder if I had had the anti-lock brakes, if I wouldn't have had the almost what I think might have been a fatal accident years and years ago. I was driving in Southern Oregon, in my hometown, driving to Bend, Oregon. Some of you are familiar with that area on Highway 97. There's a long stretch that's very straight. I was out there early morning. I hit black ice, and I was heading toward the left. So I stomped on my brakes and started pumping, and I made like 360 turns down the middle of the road, came to a stop just off the side of the road in a little bit of snow where someone was able to come and hand push me out of it. But when I think about how much traffic is on that, and especially those big semi-trucks that we were just talking about, I just thank my guardian angel that it was watching over me that day. Now I'm going to show you some exercises. I promised you that we would be able to do this, and since it's right after lunch, I think you need to do these to practice along with me. So there are 4 different exercises. I have to give the disclaimer, not to do these. If you should be checking with your doctor before you do any exercise program. And if there's any pain at all, of course, stop. But the first thing you would do is just your neck stretch. We would turn our neck as far as you can without hurting to the left. Normally, you would hold this for 10 seconds. You would go back to the center. Then you would go to the other side for 10 seconds and back to the center. You would repeat those 3 times. Then you would do your torso stretch. This one, instead of just turning your neck, you're turning from your waist. So you would turn with your arms as far as you can, but not till it hurts. Hold it for 10 seconds, move back to the center, and move to the other direction for 10 seconds and back to the center. You would do that one 3 times. The third one is your arm and chest stretch. You put your arms out, turn them face up, bend your arms back, and then your shoulders out, just barely touching the back of your head. You'd hold this for 10 seconds. Now, if that's too hard, just do right here, whatever's comfortable for you. And hold that for 10 seconds, then move your arms, shoulders in, your elbows, your arms out, and then relax. You would do that 3 times. Then we go to our feet. The first one is raising your heels. You'd raise your heels, hold those up for 10 seconds, release them, do that 3 times, and then raise your toes and release that, or hold it for 10 seconds and release. Now these are some that you could even do on that little space they give us on an airplane, and just keep that circulation going. I'm going to give you 3 tips that you would learn in a class about driving and what you might do best. First one has to do with your holding your steering wheel. Now, when most of us here learned to drive, we probably learned to hold your wheel at the 10 and 2 positions. That's not the right way. That was before airbags. Airbags can come so quickly, they hurt your arms if they're over your steering wheel at all. So the best place is either at the 3 and 9 position, or even the 8 and 4, which is hard to get used to. But once you do, you'll find that that is the safest position. It's a great place to be. Now, how far do you follow someone when you're driving down the road? We first learned, a car length for every 10 miles of speed we were going. And you're like looking at your thing, oh, it's supposed to be 6 car lengths, and how long's a car length? And it was really hard to figure out. Now we do it by seconds, and we've increased that from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. So you will be following someone, you pick a stationary object, a sign or something. As they pass it, you start counting 1001, 1002, 1003, and hopefully you will not get to 1004 until you're at that same place. If you do, then just back off a little bit. third thing is your mirrors. Most of us learned to set our outside rear view mirrors so that you could just see the outside of your car. Now we want to do the alternative mirror adjustment. This one actually eliminates, not totally, but helps to eliminate the blind spots. It also helps to eliminate that glare from that big truck or car with the bright lights that comes up behind you. So what you do, probably should have just kept the chair there, but you would lean over to touch your left side of your head against your window, then adjust your mirror on that side until you just can see the edge of the car. On the right one, you lean in till you're right underneath your inside rearview mirror, and then you adjust the right one. It will seem very awkward at first because you'll find that there's this gap. You think, oh, shouldn't be out that far. But really, it's the best way to set your mirrors. We're always looking for volunteers to teach the driver safety classes. So if you're interested, many of you like to speak, talk to me afterwards about being a volunteer and teaching those driver safety classes. They're fun, it's very well organized. You have a manual, you have the videos, and everyone gets a driver safety DMV manual and also the handbook that we pass out to them. Now, the second class that I want to tell you about is called Car Fit. Car Fit is a venue. I'm trying to think. I'm making our cameraman work really hard today. I knew he wasn't getting enough exercise, so now I'm making him do that. It's a collaboration between AAA, AARP, and this one I have a hard time remembering, the American Occupational Therapy Association. We hold events throughout the United States, and what happens is people actually drive through and their car is evaluated. They're evaluated. There's a checklist that we go through with the driver, and people go and walk around the car, check out how they're sitting in the car, make sure that everything is working the way that it should be. It can take anywhere from 15 minutes to a half hour for the whole evaluation, and they go through several stations. 3 things that you can do to make your driving a little safer right now without having to go to Car Fit is to make sure that you're wearing your seatbelt. The lap one should come down across your hips and not up around your stomach. The lap one should come across here. Never put your arm on the outside of it. And if it rubs against your neck here, there should be a place on the left side where you can adjust that. The second one is how close you're driving and sitting to your steering wheel. This is another one that has to do with the airbag. You should be at least 10 to 12 inches away from your steering wheel when you're sitting down in your car. Many of us are much closer than that. It's not safe for you because if the airbag goes off, it's hitting you with too much pressure. So make sure that you move your seat back so that you're that far away. And if that puts your feet too far away from your pedals, there are special adapters that you can put on your pedals so that you'll still be able to reach them. The third thing is your headrest. You want to make sure that your headrest comes right behind your head, right there. That will help you in the case of an accident so that you don't get whiplash. There are some little things that these adaptive equipment you might not even know is available. There is a foot lift. It's a piece of strap with handles on it, and if someone doesn't have much strength in their legs, they can put this strap over their foot and lift their feet in and out of the car. There's also adapters for keys. If your hands are getting arthritic and you can't hold on to your key, there's a big thing that can attach to your key and help you turn the lock. And the third one that I wanted to mention was the easy reach on the seat belt. Sometimes it's hard for people to reach all the way around, especially some cars, their seatbelts are way back. But there's a piece of strap that you can attach to it, and you can easily reach that to pull around. Now, these events are free to participants. We just barely had the first Car Fit program in Alaska just a few months ago. The women from AAA in Florida came up to do the training and help us to put on that event. So we're always looking for sponsors now to hold such an event, and it wouldn't be too early to start planning for something in the spring. So if you are a member of a church or some kind of a service organization that might want to help mainly seniors have such an event, let me know, and we'd be glad to try to work with you and set that up. Now, the third one is We Need to Talk. This is a fairly new program that AARP has developed to help people drive longer and drive safer. Seniors are driving more and longer than they used to. And as a group, they're a very safe driving group. They don't drink and drive. They usually drive the speed limit. They follow all the rules. So they're doing all the right things. But as people get older, and especially into their 70s and 80s, they want to drive, but they might not know what the alternatives would be. And we want to keep them driving as long as they can, but we also want to know when the time is right to have that conversation, whether you're a caregiver, a relative, or whether it's someone in your family that you just know needs to come off of the road, then you would be able to help to have that conversation. So what this is a program where for 30 to 45 minutes, you would have a conversation, a seminar, to be able to find out what those different things are and how you can start that conversation with those people. Usually, just the alternatives and knowing what else they can do is really the key to them deciding that it's okay not to drive. But I'm sure any of us, if we knew just instantly that we could no longer drive again, it would be devastating. But once you know, well, I shouldn't be driving at night. That's the first thing a lot of seniors do, is not drive at night. Once they know that there are alternatives, maybe ask a friend to take them to certain places. Get the Alaska rides, the anchor rides it's called. Maybe they would need to take some public transportation or a taxi to certain things. As long as they know there are alternatives, then they might be willing to give up some of that driving that they're doing. We're kind of running into this with my mother right now. A couple of years ago, she had back surgery. She ended up with MRSA. She had all kinds of things. So she started walking with a walker and eventually was recovering. But she hasn't driven in all that time. My dad is doing all the driving. About 2 weeks ago, she said to us, "Oh, I got those new glasses. They're so good. I can see everything. I can start driving again." Well, it's kind of a mixed message. I mean, we would love to have her driving in case something happens to my dad, and she's no longer, then what would she be doing? Because she's totally relying on him. But on the other hand, after 2 years, and she's 80 now, do we really want her to start driving? So those are the kind of conversations that you have, and you see what the options might be. All of these things are something that you could attend. You can help to sponsor if you are interested as a group that you are associated with to help sponsor these. Then I would love to talk to you about those kind of classes that we have or can sponsor. So thanks for coming today. It was great talking to you.